Welcome to Talladega Superspeedway and another race with Universe Motorsports. Today we're going to be racing the ARCA car on this 2.66 mile behemoth superspeedway. Our entry for today's race is going to be the number 9 Nuka Chevrolet Impala. I'm a huge Fallout fan. I love this paint scheme, so when I saw this on Trading Paints, I just had to race it. Credit to the creator of this paint scheme will be down in the description below. So for today's race, we're going to be on this super wide fan favorite racetrack. Talladega Superspeedway is a huge racetrack with a lot of room to make moves, but also a lot of room for error. So today's race is going to be 20 laps long, a quick shootout. We qualified 5th, only 14 thousandths of a second off the leader. We're in a really good spot to start this race. Strength of field was a 24-37. We were the second split out of a lot of them. We need to be aware of our surroundings. We have to pay attention to every car that's around us. See what kind of moves they're making, see who you can trust and who you can stick with, and see who's going to be the outlier who may try to make any move possible. You want to be confident with who you stick with and who you draft off of. We're really going to have to work on managing our water temperatures throughout this race. We want to make sure we keep them at an appropriate level. That way, towards the end of this race, we'll have enough of a wiggle room to make a push. And of course, with this type of race here and at Daytona, we always got to keep an eye out for the big one that could possibly happen at any moment. It's usually not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. However, our good qualifying run, putting us in 5th place, puts us in a good position to be towards the front of the pack and not worry about everybody behind us. Pace car is now leading us to the green. He is peeling off onto pit road. We have 23 drivers in this race, so let's make sure that we stick up front. We're going to see a couple different strategies, some people trying to force their way to the front, and some people might even just dip off and let everybody pass them and try to stay out of any big one that may happen. Coming to the green. Green flag is now out. And we are in a really good spot here. Starting 5th is actually really perfect. The 6th car in front of us, we're going to allow him to do all of the work on the 1 car in front of him. Let him do all of the pushing. Our job as the 3rd car in line is to take all of that energy behind us and place it into the front 2 cars right ahead of us and keep our line moving. A common misconception is you always are pushing. A driver is always trying to push, but really you don't have to push too much, especially with these type of cars. You can actually force the energy into the car ahead of you with a good aero push. You don't necessarily have to get right up on their bumper and shove them along. Usually that's going to be the 2nd car in line to be able to translate that energy into the lead car and to force their line to have a little bit more momentum than the line next to them. Everybody keeping it tame on this first lap. Everybody's still too wide from where they started. We got one guy in the back trying to make it 3 wide, making up some room back there, trying to make up some passes back there. Tire wear may or may not be an issue as we go into the turns as the race goes on. The car may push up into the turn. May not be too much of a factor with this 20-lap race that we have here. Again, it's more of a shootout than really anything. Again, we're in a really good spot here. The 13 is really on that 8, trying to give him an edge out, but he's getting off the 4 a little bit, so it's going to suck them back right to the 4 car. And our extra momentum is going to bring our line a little bit into the lead here. Again, we're in a really fantastic spot. We can take our time here and see how each line develops. If we have to make any moves and hop into a different lane, we're in a good spot to see it coming too. We already got some guys going 3 wide in the back behind us, trying to jockey for position wherever they can, trying to set up and put themselves in a good spot to carry on through the rest of this race. We got a couple guys, again, making sudden moves. I think that's the 15 car that just hopped up into the outside line. One car is seeing all of this movement, and he has dipped down below the yellow line to let everybody pass him. And he's going to fall back to the back runners there and let us fight it out up here. 13 gets a little wide getting into the turn. That kind of checks up the line behind him. There's still 3 wide, and one car gets up into, I think that's the 15. The 15 might be hitting everybody. He does. What a save. Almost gets into the wall. Wow, what a save. And he's able to bring it down pit road. That was incredible. Save of the year right there. And he stops the car on pit road probably to get a breath. That's really going to make the outside lane really break apart. And now we can kind of take our breath and take our time as we try to make sure we push this energy into the car ahead of us. Our goal here is to try to keep our water temperature, that top left gauge right there. I want to keep it around 200, give or take. That way towards the end of the race I could just put pedal to the floor and not really worry about it. If I can manage that, that would be great. We might peek our nose out here and there just to grasp a little bit of air to the front, as we are going to do that right here, just to keep it manageable. 8 car is now getting a little bit more of a run from the outside 2 cars that are right behind him. I believe that's the 5, and he's also got the 4 behind him as well. 7 is going to be pulling up to them as well, so they're starting to get their help back. But really, no push, no rush on us right now. We're going to let the 6 car do all of the work, and we're just going to translate, again, all of this energy behind us into the aero push that we're going to put on the 6. I really don't want to bump draft right now to make anything too crazy. I don't want to get anybody squirrely. It's really early. We're going to leave any bump drafting that we have to do towards probably the end of the race. And we're, again, pretty good where we're at, so let's try to keep it steady. This 14 behind us, also doing what we were doing earlier. He's sticking his nose out just to keep his water temp down, grabbing a little bit of air. And a couple guys behind him are doing the exact same thing. 5 car really had a run with that 8. 8 is nosing it out just in front of the 1 that's right in front of us as well. 17 is now in this line. However, they have really not a lot of help behind the 7. It's kind of broken up a little bit there. Since there's a little bit of gap behind the 17, while the 4 is going to close up that hole, we're really going to want to give the 6 now a push just to get our line a little bit away from them if possible, and take advantage of the little gap that they did have. They have closed up the gap with the 7 and the 11 pushing up into the 4. Still too wide all the way through this field. Great racing so far. 5 getting a really good run. We're going to allow this energy to build up behind us. 14 gave us a little bit of a tap right there. And that's going to help us coming off this turn onto the backstretch. And the 5 looks like he might be dipping out. He is dipping out on the 8. Had a little bit of a run. I think he thinks that maybe he can get some kind of help. The 17 is not going to bite on that at all, and I don't think the 4 is going to do that either. 5 might be sinking like a rock, and that's really going to hurt the outside lane's momentum. As you can see, the 17 and the 8 are now pulling back and falling back to us. 8 is right on our right-hand side, side drafting us a little bit. We're going to keep it down to the line. 6 looks like he's holding true to the 1 car. He's not trying to dive out to get in front of the 8 and lead that line. I think he's content with running right behind the 1 car, just as we are behind him. And I want to say, so far, this 14 has been doing a really good job of also translating that energy into us and not bumping us as much and getting us too squirrely. Outside lane has formed up again, and that 5 car did fall back. Only a handful of positions. Didn't lose it too bad. He could have fallen back way worse. We have a little bit of a gap between the 14 and the car behind him, but that's going to close up in a matter of seconds. All of this spacing that we have in the turn is relatively a good thing, as we can use that to push our line forward. We just want to make sure we don't leave too much of a gap in front or behind us, so the outside lane, nobody jumps in front of us or jumps behind us that we may not want. So far, I've been really happy with this 14. He's not on us, and he's not pushing us too hard. That 5, with that move he made earlier, he's somebody we might not want to work with if he keeps pulling stunts like that. If we jump out and we either push him or he gets behind us, he could leave us out to dry at any moment. That 15 car that was back there too, that had that crazy save earlier with the way he was bouncing around, if he gets back to us, he might be another one that we're not going to really want to trust. Three-quarters throttle, trying to allow as much space in front of the 6 as we can. The 1 still has a little bit of a good lead on this 8, but we're going to try to translate that energy. That's going to be a big word of the day today, energy, as we're creeping up to the halfway point, just to make sure our line still has good momentum. The inside line really has a benefit going into turns, but the runs coming off is really going to benefit the outside lane. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. Maybe we can jump out there if we had to. So far, nothing's really leading me to have to do that. Again, we need to pace ourselves. There's no need to have to push too hard. And there's no need to have to actually bump draft, as now the 5 car looks like he was peeking out, either maybe to get air or he's trying to form a third line again. The car behind the 5 car looks like he's trying to tell the 5 he's willing to go with him if he peeks out. Really good driving as we come up to the halfway point here in this 20-lap feature. All right, we have a little bit too much of a gap. I don't want this 4 to come back down, so we're really going to press it going into this turn and make sure that he's not going to come down and fill that gap. And we have now closed up the hole. It's really crazy how much you don't have to be on throttle when you're in a line here. Usually half throttle, 3/4 throttle will do you plenty, especially when you're in the back. Being the second car on line, you have the most work. You have to really be able to transform that energy into a push that the driver in front of you can take. Don't hit him too hard, and definitely don't hit him off center. You're going to get them squirrely and probably cause them to either get into the wreck, or at the very least you're going to make them swing out of line, and that's going to ruin everybody's momentum, as most of the time they're going to check up, or you're going to fall into the middle and you're going to fall right back, as the 11 either got shifted out of that line or he's trying to make a move on his own, goes into the middle. The 17 is going to come back down, and so is the 7 behind him to make sure that they are getting the run with him. The 4 car is going to be trapped on the outside. This might be in the 5 car's favor, as he's been itching to go to the outside line. He has made me look like a liar. He goes right down to the middle lane. He's going to be right up behind the 7, as now we have 3 lanes coming into turn 3. We are 3 wide with the 8 all the way to the outside. Give as much room as we can, hug this yellow line. 11 is now leader of the outside lane. The 8 car has gotten shafted and just shuffled out of this. With the 4 car, they're falling back. Alright, this is around the time I think we're probably going to see, yeah, the 11 is getting pretty aggressive with some side draft, and the 7 was also doing that as well. 5 cars behind the 7, he's already peeking out, trying to make that outside line work. He's now going to be in front of the 8 car. He dips back into the middle lane. That 5 car is not one to be trusted, and I got to be honest, this 11's kind of scaring me with how much he was side drafting me just now. We are able to get a little bit ahead of him. And he's side drafting the car behind us. We are clear at the moment. Alright, time for us to take a little bit of a breath. Our water temps are just at 200, right where we want them to be. Off throttle just a little bit. Make sure we keep it at 200. Outside lane with a little bit more momentum as they come down now. 11 up to the 6. And for the moment, the outside line doesn't really have too much help. So in the meantime, that's going to help us, although all the cars that are going to come back up with that draft that's up there, they might start making some moves. So we're going to have to keep an eye on the mirror at all times leading up to the end of this race here. At any moment, as we can already see, 1 car starting to get a good run on that 7 car. He's going to go 3 wide. We're able to just get away from them a little bit. We're not 3 wide. We're going to be right underneath the 5. Let's hope this 11 does not dive down. Let's close this gap as much as we can. The middle line is now getting a little bit checked up as they're 4 wide behind us. The 7 is going to make a crazy move. Look at this as he goes down underneath the 11 that he was just pushing and gets ahead of that line. Look at the momentum he's got. He's going to get up. He's going to get up right to the leader. He has so much of a run that even the 11 couldn't keep up with him. He's going to fall back now. He's side drafting as hard as he can. Now's the time. They're making ridiculous moves. Let's keep an eye out and make sure we block anything ridiculous that may happen. Just like that. What a move. That was awesome by the 7. We are now 3 wide, 3 by 3 by 3. The 5 is outside of the 7. He's got help behind him as well. 3 lanes deep as we're all coming off of the corner here. Our inside line still has good momentum. That outside lane, well, middle lane now, still keeping with us with a good push that they have. The 7 just hip checks the 6. The 6 is now falling back. He's falling back with no help. Absolutely sad. Absolutely demoralizing for that 6. What a good race he ran just to get hip checked out of line. Now it is up to us. We are now the second car in line here. We now have to make sure that we can get up behind the number 1 Budweiser car. We lift him up with a little bit. We lift him up a little bit with a good push throughout the straightaway. 14, I believe now, is going to be giving us a little bit more of a push now that we're getting to the end of the run. So we have to make sure that we can handle the push he's going to give us, give it right to the 1. We are able to help the 1 keep his nose out in front of this 7 that's right out beside us. Middle lane has most of the help as that third lane is starting to trail off a little bit. Seven coming back with some momentum. This whole lane is side drafting us. That 5's help really disintegrated out there on the outside. Back to 2 by 2 by 2 for the front 8 cars pretty much. That 5 has no help as his last car behind him just gave up on him. Alright, so our role has changed now. Instead of building up the energy and transferring it into the car in front of us to let them do all the work, we now have to do the work as we're coming to 3 laps to go. 7 car still side drafting like nobody's business. The 11 car keeping it away from us a little bit to keep his momentum up as well. Alright, we're really pushing it now. As you can see, the water temperature has creeped up to 220. This is about the time of the race where that is okay as we get a little squirrely with a push that the 14 just gave us off of the corner. And he's still pushing us as we get up to the 1. I think all 4 of our cars on the inside lane here was just pushing each other. What a big run that we just had. Look at the distance we put on the 11. The 7 is trapped on the inside, and that just brings them all back. This is a good scenario for us as we're now coming off of turn 4 to get to 2 to go. Feathering the throttle, trying to make sure that we can keep the water temperature where it's at just in case that outside line comes back. I don't know if I should get in front of this 7 and keep the run going. I do like the runs we've been getting with the 1 and the 14. I can trust the 14 a little bit. The 7 just made that ridiculous move a little bit earlier. I think I'm going to hold it down here. I'm going to keep it down as the 7 now. Just has a little bit of a bumper right in front of us as we get a little bit loose coming off the corner, and we bumped into the 7 just slightly. That ruins a little bit of our help. 7's going to get a push from the 11. He's now still on our side here, side drafting us. I'm going to do my best to try to keep it right on the 1. I think I'm going to try to make any kind of move I can right on the last lap, maybe coming out of turn 4. That's probably going to be the best time to do it. This entire time, we've had this outside lane here, so if I can get any bit of a gap, we can get it through there. And we get another push from the 14, and that puts us almost spinning it. I can't believe I saved it, and the 14 got a little bit loose in our mirror too, and he saved it as well. That's going to help the 7 a little bit, but we're going to come back with good momentum. This 14 has been a really good pusher this entire race, so I'm glad I stuck with him. We are beating and banging door to door. We just hit him again, trying to make sure we push this 1. Third lane's trying to form again. Coming up on a lap car, but that's not going to matter as this is the last lap. We're going into turn 3, and we got cars hitting each other. One car up into the wall. We got a big wreck behind us. We are still going to race to the finish. 14 on us with not even a gap. Now he's starting to trail off as we're going to try to build up this run and get around the 1, but I have no room on the outside and I can't go below him, so we're just going to have to push him. Getting pushed from 14, and we have turned the 1. We have turned the 1. The leader is around. Who got this win? I think I got this win. I'm not sure. The 7 thinks he got the win too, and they're still wrecking after the finish. Both me and the 7 think we've got this win here. Who got this win? That is ridiculous. What a crazy end of the race. The 1 just got lifted coming out of the trial by us. So I got to see the replay on that. Still no word on who got this win. The 7 thinks he got it. We think we got it. While they're figuring that out, let's watch this replay 4 wide. And the 22 just gets into the 16 a little bit. They all check up and go right into the wall. 11 involved. He was up front most of this race. The 4 also, so that's a terrible finish for him. About 6-7 cars involved, sliding through the grass. The 2 doesn't even check up, gets involved and slams the wall. Right front is gone. Tire not even moving on that car. Oh, and the 8 was involved too. He fell back. What a terrible finish for him. Yeah, the 14 was on us, and The 1 just gets light coming off the trial when we turned him. And I guess a 13 must have been really angry at the 14 for something. Tries to get up to him and just give him a shove, but wrecks him at the finish where other cars get involved. So this is our roll bar camera. We had such a good run. I was committed to him just to give him a push, and that happened so fast he just got spun. Man, I feel bad for the 1 car. Man, we were side by side getting side drafted too. That didn't help me at all. And we didn't actually get a push from the 14. I guess we couldn't take the push, and that sucks how it played out. So who got this win? And it looks like it's official. The 7 car has gotten this win by inches. By half of a nose, pretty much. Side drafting us. We're still beating and banging to the door. Right to the finish. And we're getting word now that that was 12 thousandths of a second difference between the 7 car and our car. What a finish. What a race that was. Everybody minded their manners throughout the entire race. No wrecks until the very last lap. That was awesome. There's 10 lead changes by only a handful of cars, as most of us up front were really dedicated to our help and the people who we were helping. We finished with 2x, probably from beating and banging right there in the last 2 laps, and we got plus 84 points towards our I rating. This was an awesome race, really cool. We finished 2nd. That 5th place starting position really helped us a lot, really helped us maintain our track position, and I got lucky, honestly, with the people we were pushing and the people behind us. Everybody was really well mannered. Everybody in the outside lane, most people on the outside lane, kept searching for a new lane, a 3rd lane, trying to make something work, and you didn't know who you could trust. But what a great race that was. I'll take 2nd place. That is awesome. What a great finish that was. Thank you for tuning in. What an awesome race that was. We're going to try to use this momentum, as I say always, and move on to the next race. And we'll get this win eventually. We've got so close, 12 thousandths of a second. I cannot believe it. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in the next race.